Hi, gorgeous. I know it's been a few weeks, but Jim and I have officially moved into our house, which we will be in for the next few years. It is super exciting. I'm glad that we won't have to move for a while, and I absolutely love it. I am super excited, and I apologize for my little break, but I am stoked about some new upcoming videos that I'm working on currently, and I'm excited to share with you today's video, which is about easy nutritional swaps that you can make that I found to be super helpful in our household to both help our metabolism as well as our microbiome and just overall help us live a healthier lifestyle without sacrificing the good stuff. So without further ado, let's go. It's 2021 and there are so many different resources out there for you to find delicious recipes and hacks. From Pinterest to YouTube videos, there are books, there are blogs. If you want to find something, it's out there for you. But I notice that sometimes there are those things that you try and you go, what in the heck are you trying to sell me? Because it's terrible. You feel like you're still missing what you want. You've paid a ton of money for something that isn't good. And I've found that there are just some things that they don't work for me, and I would rather stick to the thing that I'm craving than try and replace it with something that's still gonna make me crave what I'm missing. So our biggest rule is find something that's healthier, that's more beneficial, that's less artificial, but still satiates that craving, that still checks off that box. Because if at the end of the day you're still missing whatever you didn't end up having, then that product didn't do you any good. So if you try one thing in a replacement effort for another and you still end up wanting the original item, then that replacement just cost you extra calories because you're gonna go have this. So for me, one of the things that I just cannot seem to find a good swap for is creamer for my coffee. And I try and use less of it, but I know that Coffee Mate isn't exactly the healthiest. But every time I try to replace it with something else, whether it be sugar-free, fat-free, a Trader Joe's brand, a protein creamer, yes, they have those, it doesn't satisfy that craving. And so I still end up craving my Coffee Mate creamer, which means that I'm gonna end up going back to it in additional cups of coffee, and that's not what I want. I would rather just have the original item and not spend extra calories trying to satiate something that obviously it's not being satiated. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the things that I've found are wonderful, awesome replacements that don't make me miss the other thing at all. So one of my number ones is bread. Now, let me just tell you this right now. I love bread. I love carbs. I'm a carb girl. That's just my life. And for me, finding a bread that isn't grainy or isn't super dense in calories or isn't super dense in butter, like it's really hard. Like I've always been a wheat girl, but I've never found a bread that I've really loved beyond honey wheat from Sara Lee until Nature's Harvest. And none of this is sponsored, by the way, but Nature's Harvest came out with a bread recently that's a 40 calorie per slice wheat bread, and it's literally just as good as any other sliced bread that you're gonna find at the grocery store. And it makes me so happy because I don't feel as guilty having a piece of toast with a little bit of smart balanced butter on it, because that whole thing might be 60 calories, but a normal slice of bread would be 80 without anything on it. And so that little replacement, I don't miss the other bread. I like this bread, it's delicious, but I don't ever feel like I'm missing out on anything because I have this. And that's really what I was looking for. So I was so happy with that. Sara Lee also came out with one that's 45 calories. It's okay. I find that it's a little bit squishier and I eat a lot of peanut butter sandwiches, so that doesn't really work for me. Nature's Harvest, I mean, it's so easy, costs about the same, and you can find it at the local grocery store if it's not out. And it's 40 calories versus 80. What else is there to talk about? Okay, this next one might make some people upset. If it offends you, I'm sorry, but you know, everyone loves pasta. I get it. Don't come at me. Okay. Everyone loves pasta. I get it. But if you have good meat and good sauce, the pasta is really to push around that. And for me, spaghetti, with the meat and the sauce, like I want my garlic bread to go with it. Kind of a simple girl like that. Finding a replacement for spaghetti, especially because spaghetti is so cheap, can sometimes be difficult because a lot of spaghetti type lower calorie things, they don't have the right texture, or they break apart, or there's a flavor differential. And I found that the best solution is not actually a pre-processed noodle that has been made that you can just stick in boiling water. I found that the best solution is actually spaghetti squash. You can basically cut it open, sprinkle it with olive oil, salt and pepper, stick it in the oven for about an hour. And when it comes out, you take a fork, scrape it up, and it is literally little pre-made noodles, but it's all vegetable, which is fantastic. It's good for you. It's not processed. You have that tiny little bit of healthy fat from the olive oil, and it's delicious. And you can cook it a little longer if you want it less al dente. And once you put the sauce on there, yes, there's a little bit of a taste, but for me, we like a bold sauce and we like a lot of meat. So for us, it's not a huge deal, and it ends up tasting just as good. I don't miss the noodles whatsoever, and being a carb girl, that's a big deal. But at the same time, it's super great because we can have that. We can, eat our spaghetti, with whatever meat and meat sauce that we want. We can even have a little bit of actual garlic bread, and I typically actually make my own little butter garlic blend and put it on there instead of like the pre-made stuff. And so I get my bread, I get to have that little, and that's a treat. But then all of a sudden I don't feel heavy or gross or, that food coma-esque-ness from spaghetti, because I didn't have spaghetti, I had noodles. I got a ton of veggies, which is great. And it reheats really well, so if you have leftovers, it works out great. It's just a great solution for a noodle that also gives you your veggies for the day, and it tastes awesome. So, and there's so many different ways to prepare it. Along the same lines, if you're having a stir fry and you want to have rice or some sort of noodle or anything like that, one of the best things that we found is actually, you can get it at the grocery store, you can also get it at Costco, is edamame noodles. There's a little bit of a texture differential. It's a little less flavorful than a squash, which is sometimes what you want since you want to pick up that soy sauce, but it ends up being great for those meals because you have that soy or you have that tiger sauce and you have all of those other flavors, and it just adheres to those just like as if it were edamame. And what's great about that is spaghetti squash doesn't have a lot of protein, but edamame has a ton of protein. And so even though the calories might be a little bit higher, 2 ounces is about 200 calories, but 2 ounces also, which is 1 serving, also has 24 grams of protein. So you're getting a ton of protein in there. So say you wanted to do a stir fry for someone who is vegan or vegetarian, or you wanted to have a stir fry and you had a little less chicken than you'd like, but you wanted to make sure you had enough protein. This is a great way to do it. You still feel like you're having those carbs, which does still have some carbs. It's soy, but it ends up being a great substitute because you're also getting all of the good nutrients from edamame. Again, great substitute. You can find it at the grocery store. Highly recommend it. One of my favorite hacks, which I have found works in so many different ways, is Greek yogurt. And we use it for breakfast. Obviously, we put fruit and a little bit of honey on there or cinnamon or whatever you want, but I also use it when I cook. So instead of sour cream, you can use a little bit of Greek yogurt. It still has that tartness. If you wanted dessert and you wanted a banana split, this is one of my favorite hacks. You cut a banana and you put a couple dabs of yogurt and get some low calorie, which you can find at the grocery store, chocolate syrup. So it's like 10 calories per tablespoon. So you just do a light drizzle, whatever fruit you want on there, a little dollop of light whipped cream, and the whole thing is going to be about 200 calories, 250 calories, depending on how much of what you put in there. But Greek yogurt has a lot of protein, and all you're putting on there is berries and yogurt and a little bit of whipped cream. So it feels indulgent. It satisfies that craving, all without the guilt that comes afterwards. Plus, yogurt has a ton of wonderful probiotics that are really great for your gut. It helps decrease bloating, it helps your immune system. It's just really, really good for you, and I would highly recommend it. But it ends up being super useful even in baking. You can use Greek yogurt in place of something, and I find it to be so, so helpful. And it makes things really creamy and delicious. Now, you remember how I said I'm a big carb girl? One of my favorite treats, and I was always this way when I was a kid, was popcorn. Actually, when I was like 16, I think for my birthday, I got a big popcorn machine. And I think my friend Tanya has that now in her classroom, but it's a big popcorn machine, and I literally, like you would see at a carnival. I loved popcorn. Popcorn isn't always the healthiest, especially the pre-packaged stuff, but one of my favorite things that I ended up getting from our wedding registry was a popcorn bowl. And literally it is a silicone collapsible popcorn bowl. This popcorn bowl is $11 on Amazon. It comes in 2 different colors, and it literally collapses and has a lid. And all you do is get some non-popped popcorn. You don't need anything else. You don't need oil, you don't need water. And literally you put a tablespoon or however much you want in the bottom and you microwave it. Don't use the popcorn button because those are preset and you never really know, you don't want it to burn. And basically the popcorn pops with no oil, no water, so it's literally no additives. So when you're calculating your macros, literally it's just what's on the bag and how much you put in there. So, you know, you can get a tiny little bowl of popcorn for less than 100 calories if you wanted, and it's going to be way bigger than the 100 calorie packs that you get from the grocery store because there are no additives. And then there are also all of those great little shakers that you can get at the grocery store to add flavor. And you can also add your own. Some of my favorites are, there's Greek seasoning, I love that. Lowry's seasoned salt is fantastic. And then of course you can get all of those different AMC things. I would take those easy, but there's so many different things you can add and try out and make your own little concoctions. But it's a great way to get some extra calories without any of the bad stuff. So you feel like you get to be indulgent, get those carbs without feeling terrible afterwards. And last but not least, going along the popcorn line is, I am a big moviephile, so is my husband. We work in film, so we watch a lot of movies and we like movie night. And of course, we talked about popcorn, but what's the other thing you get at the movies? Candy. And we've tried a lot of different things. We've been bad and gotten real candy at the store, but our go-to is Smart Sweets, and I can't see that changing anytime soon. Now, I will say that they've come out with some fantastic flavors and they've come out with some not so fantastic flavors, but my favorites are the peach rings and one of their newest releases, which is their Twizzler style licorice, and it is absolutely fantastic. It tastes just like the real thing. They also have a Starburst one, they have normal gummy bears, they have sour gummy bears, they have basically a Sour Patch Kids version. They have tons of different options, a lot of which you can find at Target, which is absolutely great. Otherwise, you can get them at GNC, of course, but I highly recommend those. They're a great substitute that makes you feel indulgent, but it also doesn't give you that, you know, after movie nauseous hangover situation. Doesn't make you feel guilty about having all this sugar because they are extremely low sugar. An entire bag will be 100 calories, 120 calories, and 3 grams of sugar. It's absolutely fantastic. You get to have that treat, and you don't have the guilt or the nausea or any of the bad side effects of having that treat. You don't have to ruin your gains to be indulgent, which is wonderful. Which is why sometimes I hate 2021 and sometimes I love it, because there are so many great assets out there. There's so many new things I want to try, and I'm super excited to keep you updated on what I find. But those are some of my favorite things that are just easy, positive, nutritional replacements that make you feel like you're getting what you want without sacrificing what you need or what your goals are. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to know if you have any suggestions for me to try, if you have any favorites, because like I said, I'm always on the lookout for trying new things, and I cannot wait for you to see what I have done for next week. So in the meantime, I will talk to y'all later. Bye, gorgeous.